So I'm in Photoshop, and what I have is two layers. The first layer is the background layer. So this is just a completely flat color layer, and it's in a mid-tone grey. And then I have layer 1, which is the sphere itself. It's in a slightly lighter mid-tone grey so that I can actually see what I'm doing. And what we're going to do here is we're going to practice the basics of understanding light and shade, and we're going to do this in Photoshop, and we're going to be mainly using the dodge and burn tool. And what the dodge and burn tool does is dodge will lighten an area, and if you hold down Alt, burn will darken an area. If you're using this tool with a pen, you need to be careful about if you lift off during a stroke, because if I keep stroking differently, you will see that it lights every time I do the stroke. Whereas what you actually want to do is you want to be filling an area. So you can see that even though I keep going over the same spot, it's not actually getting brighter. But if I take the pen off the surface, or I click several times with the mouse, you can see that the surface will get successively lighter. So my light is coming in from the top and from the left hand side. I've got a fairly large brush, and what I'm doing is I'm just going to paint in, and notice that I'm using a curve to paint this in because this is a sphere and the light will strike the upper area, and so we basically want to increase the value. If I do this again, you can see that the surface gets even brighter, as if it's reflecting more light. So I can do the reverse of this by holding down the Alt key, and now I can paint in the shadow. And for the shadow, the shape I'm making is a crescent. And if I hold down the key again, you can see I can create a darker shadow. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to consider how the sphere casts a shadow onto the background. So I'm going to switch to my background layer, I'm going to hold the Alt key down, and basically I'm going to paint in the shadow. And again, I'm looking to make an arc or a spherical shape on the ground. And again, I can repeat to generate a more diffuse shadow. Lastly, as far as the global lighting is concerned, I need to consider that the surface on which the sphere is going to rest is going to reflect light back onto the shadowed area of the sphere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my sphere layer, and I'm actually just going to paint in a highlight around this rim, and that's supposed to represent the reflected light. Depending on the type of material, you may also get a specular highlight. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the brush size that I'm using. I've got my layer selected and I've got my dodge tool, and I'm just going to paint in a specular highlight. So that concludes the sphere shading exercise. I encourage you to practice it a few times, and then you should submit your best piece.